Yeah, this was my face when I watched the latest J2Sense video about Linux. He was comparing like his Linux gaming experience versus Windows. He got some nice benchmark, but deep down I was just losing my mind. I was just losing my mind because 4 weeks ago, just after his first video on Linux, I sent him a message and I was like, dude, please, if you are going into, like deeper stuff into Linux, if you encounter like something weird, like please message me, because I've been doing Linux gaming for like 3.5 years, 4 years now, full time on YouTube. And it would be great if you had like someone to, back out. Like, I don't know, like to kind of like, give you some hints and share his experience with you if you publish something on Linux related versus Windows, because it's such a complex subject. And there is definitively some trap you can fall in if you get into like Linux gaming, and he went right into it, like right into it. So in this video, I'm gonna try to like fix it. So when I say fix it, I'm gonna kind of like debunk what I believe happened to him during the video of those benchmark, and I'm gonna show you like step by step for each of the subjects he mentioned during the video, how you could have a way better outcome if you are using Linux, or if you want to use Linux. So this video is really toward like J2Sense himself. I'm gonna tag him in the title of the video. Maybe I'm gonna have more luck. He's gonna watch, the actual content, and it's also dedicated for all, like the Windows user right now who want to move to Linux for gaming. You guys have really like a really good shot to switch, but you have to do it like in sometime like a specific way. And this is what my channel has been all about for the last 3 years, like testing, learning, checking what works, what doesn't work, and finding solution. So yeah, this is it. Are you ready? Let's get into it. As always, we're gonna start with a little bit of context. So for people who are actually watching the channel for like the last like 4 years, you know that I've been like hardcore benching, testing Linux gaming with NVIDIA card, AMD card, different type of distro, different type of kernel, different type of driver. I've been really like pushing the limit of what gaming looks like on Linux. And most of the time I did compare it to Windows in critical like situation, like like the DirectX 12 situation with NVIDIA, the issue with ray tracing, but we'll talk about it later, we'll see. But Linux right now, as it is not perfect for gaming. We know it. However, when I see like J2Sense and other like newcomer, new content creator jumping into the Linux world, I think it's great, but it comes also with a lot of, I would say, like responsibility, right? And I'm gonna focus on J2Sense here. Man, this dude has been like crazy successful in the YouTube game. He has like 4 million subscribers. And when he comes with new content related to any type of subject, I think it kind of like has a responsibility to be as accurate as he can, okay? And the issue with Linux, and when you are a beginner, it's really hard to come accurate, because in the Linux, like I would say, like Pandora box, I will call it like that. Like when you open the box, there is so many variables, there is so new thing you need to learn, there is so many moving parts, that when you do a benchmark, it's really easy to I would say it, like to fuck it up. Okay, so here with the latest like J2Sense video, I don't believe he makes like crazy mistakes, but the responsibility is like when you push number like that, you need to make sure that all the different like variable related to, for example, like your benchmark gaming settings are actually like shown during the video, because the message itself won't be really accurate if you don't bring all those information on the table. So J2Sense, if you are watching this video, like this is not me bashing you. This is not the goal of this video. Again, like it's more like trying to show to you and the community like the different trap you can fall if you run gaming on Linux and you don't have, you know, like the background that, for example, like I have, or some of the Linux user, like all Linux users have when it comes to gaming. So in this video, we're gonna be really focusing on the 5 topics that J2Sense like touch in his previous video. So and they're all regarding like Linux. All right, so first topic, anti-cheat. So anti-cheat on Linux, it's simple. For all the newcomers out there, if you have any type of anti-cheat that requires a kernel access, it's not going to work. Simple as that. So those anti-cheat, I'm thinking about PUBG anti-cheat. I'm thinking about the latest like Battlefield 6, like Javelin. I'm thinking about Valorant anti-cheat, which also regroup like League of Legends, etc., etc. I'm thinking about Call of Duty anti-cheat. I don't remember their name. But long story short, this is the way it works on Linux. On Linux, nobody is supposed to have access to the kernel. This is the way it works, and especially not anti-cheat. If you jump into the Linux world, you won't be playing those games. Now, whether it's worth it or not, this is your preference. I'm not judging you. You do you. My solution, personally, is to double boot. So you will have Windows on one SSD where you can do your anti-cheat stuff. And on the second SSD, you will have Linux. I will always recommend that you have like 2 SSDs, because when you have only one SSD, it's a little bit more complicated to recover Windows or Linux when there is something going wrong on the bootloader. But we'll talking about that a little bit more in the future. But that would be my 2 cents. There is no debate on that. There is maybe a way in the future that Valve is going to be able to implement some type of like shortcut for anti-cheat at a kernel level to work on Linux, but we are definitively not there yet. And sincerely, I don't see happening like anytime soon. So, do you want to play Battlefield 6, Valorant? Have a second SSD with Windows 11, end of story. So now let's talk about the point number 2, the way like the GPU driver work on Linux, and why the version of the driver on Linux is relatively non-important when you play games. So let's listen to J2Sense argument here first.
So I'm sure a lot of people that played the open beta realized right away, like, oh, I got to update my driver, because the second you launch it, it will tell you you need this driver or newer to be able to even play the beta. That's both for AMD and NVIDIA. If the driver doesn't exist yet in a build, you'll be waiting for that. If the build didn't come out during the few days that the open beta was available, then you don't play it. You aren't playing it at all. Same thing if once the title launches, it'll take time for that title to catch up with whatever, or the build to catch up with whatever drivers necessary for that particular game. You're waiting for that build to exist. So that's one of the downsides with an immutable, which is what Bazide is. So I'm sure that's something that has an easy workaround if you're running a more open type of Linux build, where you can go in and modify drivers and such on a kernel level. But with an immutable, you can't do that. So that's one of the downsides to the approach we took to gaming on Linux. So I just wanted to point that out. It's day one support for many new titles is not going to be much of a thing, depending on the popularity probably of that build.
The idea that you can't switch the driver on an immutable is true. It's a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder, but to the defense of Bazide, they have been doing a pretty good job, like making sure they are always pushing the latest driver. And J2Sense is right with the fact that switching driver on another type of distro is a little bit easier. Now, when it comes to drivers themselves, you need to understand that it doesn't work like on Windows. So let's say we are not on an immutable and I'm CachyOS, for example, and I want to play one of the latest title. And I'm talking from experience because for the last 3.5 years, I've been gaming day one, because this is literally what we have been doing on this channel during the live stream, to certain game and see if they work. And I would say like 99.9% of the time they will be working. So, and it's not related to the driver. If they work or they don't work, it's different on Linux than on Windows. So let me explain. When you play a game on Linux, the way it works is that your game goes through a translation layer before even reaching the driver. And this translation layer is Proton. Okay, like most of them know it at Proton. It's based on Wine, and this is what really like Valve and the community worked on to run game on Linux. And this is where all the heavy lifting is done. If I give you an example, for example, with Doom, The Dark Age, when you launch the game, you will still have a little pop-up that say, hey, you can't play this game with their version of driver, NVIDIA driver, they are outdated. Well, they are not really outdated. On Linux, I have the latest like possible driver on Linux, but it kind of like show up as outdated, but the game was working day one without any issue on Linux. And even if my version of driver seems outdated. So the heavy lifting is done on the Proton side. On the Proton side, the dev, the community is actually like working toward like using the right translation layer, whether or not you are using the latest driver. So this is really important to understand. You won't have any issue gaming on Linux day one on the latest title because of the driver. I would say most of the time it will be related to Proton and other stuff, but like it's not going to happen. Okay, I just want to make that clear. Sometimes you might have issue related to driver because certain features have not been implemented into Linux yet, but it has nothing to do with having the latest version of the driver like it is on Windows. Like it's totally different approach, and I just want you guys to understand that. Now the third point I want to mention is the way you do benchmark on Linux is totally different than the way you do benchmark on Windows. On Windows, having a third-party software that kind of like grabs the data and you can like, you know, take those numbers, make a nice graph and show it on your screen. It's not working as expected on Linux. I want to be clear with that. I've been doing a lot of benchmark and I noticed that in my case with my hardware, Mangohud could literally impact the performance when you do the Mangohud like FPS logging. So the way it works is like you launch this overlay and it will grab the FPS and it will create a CSV file. And from this CSV file, you will be able to calculate the average and do all those things. I noticed, at least, again, I'm going to say it again with my hardware and my configuration, that it was not really good because it could impact the performance of the game itself. And I decided that most of my benchmark, I will do them with the in-game benchmark of the game themselves. Because, again, it has some type of like interference with the game and it's not relative. Here, J2Sense used it. So maybe Mangohud become better with the latest release since I have done my testing, but this is not something I would use to have like a serious benchmark. Okay, let's word it this way. Yeah, so this could be a reason why the number of the benchmark seems, in my opinion, like not super accurate in the video he pushed yesterday. So point number 3, when it comes to synthetic benchmark, he was able to try Port Royal and Firestrike Ultra Windows versus Linux. And you can see here something is odd. Something is odd because whether you use this specific test or the other one is kind of like locked at 13,000. Like something is limiting, is all like bench. And so what I was looking at it, I was like, oh, what type of CPU is using? Intel 14700K? Well, guess what? there is a known issue called CPU split mitigation on Linux. And so if you look at this article, which is like pretty late, it kind of shows the type of issue you would get if you don't deactivate it. So I don't know if Bazzite do it by default. I don't think it is going to do it by default, but this is a little like variable you need to add for your kernel variable environment stuff. And if you do it, you would see that you're gonna get a plus like 30 to sometimes like 50% FPS increase in your game. So when I look at those numbers, I'm pretty sure that this is something related to it. And here you have the way to do it on the CachyOS wiki page. And it's written here. In some cases, split lock mitigate can slow down performance in some applications and games. A patch is available to disable it. Bam. Simple as that. So it's a non-issue. Maybe Bazzite doesn't do it by default. I don't see why they would not be doing it by default. But if you are a newcomer and you don't know that, well, this could impact your performance. So if you are running Intel and you have no idea, well, this could help. And again, in my tutorial video on CachyOS, I explain the issue, I explain you how to do it, and this is the first thing you need to do, especially if you have one of those 14, 13, 12, and 10 generation Intel CPU, you are affected by that on Linux. Now, point number 4. This one, I look at the graph and I kind of jump. So there is like two bench here, one in 1440p and one in 1080p. And we won't go through all the numbers, but what I see here is like a big disparity in Stalker 2 in terms of FPS. And I see here also like a huge disparity in Avatar Frontier of Pandora. Okay, and same with Cyberpunk. And you're gonna be like, hey, Max, not huge, it's just like 10% here. But here is the kicker, dude. The kicker is that through all the tests I've made, all the tests made by the community, all the tests of other users of AMD card in Linux, you won't find this type of discrepancy. So again, maybe there is an issue with the split mitigation stuff that it might not have activated on Bazzite, which could explain that. That could be a cause. The other cause I see here is related to the choice of game and the choice of setting. I won't lie to you, like I was a little bit upset because we don't know the setting of the game. Right now, on Linux, there is an issue related with ray tracing. If you use ray tracing, you're gonna get a big decrease in terms of performance. So this is the result I got when I compared Linux versus Windows. And this was like 2 weeks punch launch with the 9070 XT. So the drivers, they were not really mature. And what you can see here is that overall, if I didn't count like Marvel in my bench, I would have like minus 8% of performance lost on a graphic card which was just launched. So we were ready at the beginning. And if I activated ray tracing, I would get destroyed by minus 43% performance loss in 1440p. Okay, like this was a huge drawback because the drivers, they were not mature on Linux at the time, and I was doing some tests. But if you look at other reviewers out there, you will notice that with graphic cards, which were like a little bit like more mature on Linux, the difference was almost inexistent, right? This is margin of error. Whether you are at 1080p or 1450p, and here it's Stalker 2, because this is one of the games he tried, well, you wouldn't get this type of discrepancy. You wouldn't get 20%. Here, again, it's margin of error. In this case, in both 1440p and 1080p, and if I jump to Cyberpunk here, you would see that the actual result, they are again within margin of error between Windows and Linux. And here you could say, oh, but it's because it's a Bazzite issue. I don't believe it's a Basite issue, especially. I think there is something else within the test that have kind of like impacted the result. But what I can guarantee you from here, from my perspective, and 3.5 years of like testing and going through all those bench, is that if you run an AMD card, you won't feel the difference between Windows 11 and Linux. Like it's not going to happen. The only difference, I'm gonna repeat it again, if it's you enable like ray tracing, here you're gonna get destroyed. And I believe like this is the issue here. Because if you look at those bench, there is a specific issue related to Stalker 2 here. I can't explain without, maybe it's gonna be a split mitigation type of issue. But if you look at those numbers here, and especially those one, Avatar, Frontier of Pandora enable ray tracing by default. And this is the reason why you have a loss of like 20% here. 25%. If it was any type of other game, you will be on par, or you will be like within margin of error, like less than 5% loss or gain versus Windows. So here the issue is that, in fact, it might have activated like ray tracing on both of those games, maybe, medium, or we don't know the settings. So that will be my guess here. And here, there is something else related to the split mitigation, and it just impacts hardcore his result. Like those results here, something is odd. Now let's talk about point number 5. This one I'm going to be pretty quick on it. Guys, something messed up is Basite installation here. I look at the video, and it could be a lot of factor. It could be a lot of factor because I don't know how he played with the TPM. I don't know how he played with Secure Boot. It could be also an issue related to the BTRFS bug that impacted all the Linux users. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Could be also like a manual error. Something happened. From a newcomer perspective, well, you're gonna break. You're gonna break your Linux distro exactly like as you break your Windows installation when you install a virus or when you did something wrong on your PC. I believe like something happened there. I'm not blaming J2Sense for it. In the video, he mentioned that his partition is nuked. I don't think it's nuked. It will be relatively easy to mount it in a live environment and take the data out if he has like really like something important on this PC. But I would say overall, a clean install and it should be good to go. My recommendation, as I said earlier in the video, if you go and want a game with both Linux and Windows, I would say 2 separate SSD and make sure that the distro you choose is not going to temper the boot partition of Windows or vice versa, because sometimes Windows thinks it's the only operating system out there, and it will be really aggressive towards the other partition. So it's easy to destroy, for example, like the bootloader partition of your Linux installation. But I digress. I think honestly, like I don't have enough data to check what has really happened here to his machine. But I'm pretty sure it's not hard to recover the data or even like fix it. It doesn't sound like a crazy problem. Just need to have a call and see what it happened before, happened after. Just looking at the log here is not enough information to really like find a solution now. All right, so how do we conclude this one? So first, I want to tell you guys I'm a little bit upset. I'm a little bit upset because I think that if I had the chance to exchange with J2Sense for at least like 15 minutes, the outcome of the video would have been totally different. And it kind of frustrates me because when you are J2Sense and you have like 4 million subscribers, you need to be accurate. Okay, so J2Sense, if you watch the video, I'm sorry, like I might sound rough or whatever, but it kind of hurt me, right? Because on my hand, I've been trying to push Linux out there and try to be as objective as I can, right? Because it's hard when you love something to stay objective because you are passionate and you want to just like show how good it is. But me on this channel, I've been showing how good it is and how bad it is, but I've tried to do it objectively. Okay. So, you know, I think your experience is kind of relevant of what a new like Linux user could encounter. But I do believe like you should have done a little bit more, you know, like objective, like more like detailed work when it comes to the benchmark, especially the benchmark. The benchmark, if you use, for example, ray tracing, you need to be shown, or you need to say it, right, in the graph. We need to know as a viewer that ray tracing is there, and ray tracing like is bad on Linux right now. Like that, I can discuss it. This is the truth, but because it doesn't show up on those benchmark picture, where most of your viewers are gonna look at it and be like, "Wow, Linux performance is really trash, even with AMD." Ha ha ha. But it's not the case, right? If you pick games which are not using ray tracing, well, you're gonna be on par. So yeah, that's kind of a missed opportunity, in my opinion. So that's the biggest takeaway for me, right? So the issue related to you know, the split log mitigation, which could have impact on top of that, all your benchmark. It could be an issue. Maybe there is something else. I don't know. But what I can see there is that there is something limiting the actual like usage or your GPU. It could be Mangohud. It could be something else. I don't really know. Maybe with this Buzzite installation, you were in a point where Mesa driver were not like at their best, because it happens. Sometimes there is regression within the Mesa driver, and maybe you just does those freaking benchmark at this time, and you are doing a regression. You are in a regression path, and bam, now everybody thinks that Linux sucks, at least on YouTube, because when you push a video, like 4.5 million like look at it and they're like, this sucks, you know. Well, anyways, I just suck. So I wanted to, you know, share that with you. I'm gonna repeat myself again. Like if we had this little chat, J2 like for 15 minutes, the outcome would have been totally different. So that's it. That's all, guys. Please don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe. If you want, you know, a different source, and I will always encourage everyone to have like multiple source of information when you come to tech and everything. Don't forget to give a sub, you know, and make sure like, you don't miss my stream or my videos, to have you know, a different perspective when you come to Linux. That's it. That's all, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bisous, bisous.